What's up, y'all? OD here, aka Big Jake, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make barbecue pork spare ribs from start to finish. Alright, the first thing you want to do, of course, is go out and get you a nice rack of spare ribs. If you have a local butcher, I would recommend going and getting them there. They usually have a kind of a nicer product. Some nice marbling in here, which you want, and it's just it's got a nice color to it. It's a good looking rack of ribs. And we're going to cut these down St. Louis style. That's what we're going to do. And usually there's a flap here, but it looks like this one's pretty much gone. You want to cut this flap out of here. There's a little bit of it left, but not much. And the next thing you want to do is count 10 bones over from the left to the right, from the biggest side to the smallest side. Here's 10 bones over, because over here you're going to have these little bones and they're not going to cook right. Like, they're not going to cook as evenly as these. You want to square this rack up so it cooks nice and even. And if you can cook this entire thing like this if you want, but I know I wouldn't want to be the guy who gets these little ribs here on the end because they're going to be dry and overcooked. So count 10 over. We're going to cut that off. You can cook this piece right here separately, and then you can serve it separately. You can chop it up, put it in beans. You can do all kinds of stuff with it if you want. Next thing you want to do, you want to find, there's a little joint here. You want to find that joint because you want to cut this and you want to square these up as best as you can. This right here can be used for rib tips. You can cook this also if you'd like. Put this over here. Kind of feel where that. And some racks are going to be different than others. This one's not going to be really straight. It's going to be a little smaller here. I'm going to try to square it up as best as I can. Cut some of this fat out here. Because you want some fat, but you don't want a heck of a whole lot of fat. You want to even these out as much as you can. I'm going to take some of this fat over here off. This is kind of what you would do, I guess, for competition style too, even though I'm just cooking these in my backyard. This little piece right here, we're going to get rid of that. But all this marbling in here is fine. There's this little end piece here. You just kind of want to clean them up, square them up. That's kind of the best way to describe it. There we go. It's a nice even. And then there's this, like, when they cut these at the butchers, they left this little bone, half a bone over here. You don't need that. You want to get rid of that. So this is kind of what they look like. And you can save all this meat over here if you want. Like I said, and you can cook it. It doesn't really matter. You can go to Costco and they'll have, usually, at least at my Costco anyways, they'll have like a St. Louis style cut rib already. You can get them there if you want. I personally don't care for the way they cut their ribs at Costco sometimes because they do them by a machine. So I like to cut them myself because I'm picky. But you can go to Costco and get St. Louis style ribs there. There we go. So that's kind of what they look like when they're done St. Louis style. This isn't the best rack I've ever come across, but you even it up as best as you can. You're really going for like a rectangle kind of shape. And I can tell by the way I cut these, sometimes when you cut them they're going to be wider. This kind of depends on where that joint runs. In fact, I could cut this down even more if I wanted to, but I don't want it too small. So you just kind of want to square them up the best you can. So these aren't going to take as long as a thicker rack is going to take, so you got to keep that kind of thing in mind too. Every rack you cook is going to be different. They're not all going to be the same. Especially, if you're cooking racks together at the same time, you got to kind of watch them all. because they might not all be done at the same time. We're going to take this membrane off here in the back. You can start by lifting it up with your knife. I'm gonna go grab a towel and then we'll just take it off. Okay, you're gonna grab it like this. And it should just come right off, but it doesn't always. Sometimes it comes off in pieces. Sometimes it's a little stubborn like this one, but you'll get it. So that's off. You can there's a little bit of fat under here sometimes. And your best ribs are kind of like right in here. These ones, if you were competing or whatever, you'd kind of grab from the middle. That's where you're gonna get kind of your money ribs, I guess you'd call them, or whatever. All right, let me go grab my rub. We'll throw some rub on these bad boys. All right, I personally use my Big Jake's Dangle rub, which I do sell. If you want some, get at me. Send me a PM. We'll work something out. You just want to put this on here liberally, which I'm sure you've heard that before. I do both the front and the back. Some people just do the front. And I don't really rub it in, I kind of just pat it on. Let's make sure you get a nice even coating. You can kind of pick it up, and then whatever didn't get rubbed in will kind of come back off again. I'm not going to tell you the ingredients for my rub. There's books out there you can buy that'll teach you how to make rubs. There's a lot of good rubs on the market. So, I mean, the rub itself, it's very important, but I mean, there's so many rubs out there now. Any book by Paul Kirk, I would recommend. That's how I started. I learned just reading his books on how to make my own. I mean, there's all kinds of barbecue books out there that'll teach you how to make a rub. I can't show you guys everything. So we'll just kind of rub it in like that, or push it in like that. And then here's something I've changed recently. A lot of people will now put these like in a food saver bag and let them sit overnight in the fridge. I personally do not do that anymore. And the reason being is because with the salt in the rub, if you let it sit on the ribs for too long, the salt will start to cure the meat, and then your ribs will taste like ham. That won't always happen, but I think personally at this point, I don't like doing them overnight. I'll put them in a food saver bag at this point. I'm even gonna do the ends. I don't even know if this matters, but I do this now anyways. I put them in a food saver bag at this point, and then I let them sit for about 2 hours in the food saver bag. So that would be about maybe 4 hours in a regular Ziploc bag. I think overnight's just too much time. You don't need to do them that much. So this is what they look like. I'll let them sit for 2 hours in the food saver bag. Once I pull them out, I'll show you how they look, and then we'll kind of put them on the smoker after that. All right, y'all. Before we get started on the ribs, I'm going to show you guys what smoker I'm going to be using. This is a Weber Smoky Mountain. This is the larger size. I believe it's the 22.5 inch. Check it out. Check it out. I'm also got my Barbecue Guru Party Q down here. This helps regulate the temperature with a fan in there. And I'm going to be cooking at around 250. I got it set to 255 right now because I'm getting the smoker kind of warmed up. And when you check your temps, don't go by your dome temp, because the dome, the thermometer is way up here. You're going to be cooking down here on the grate, so you want to go by your grate temp. You see this wire right here? I drilled a little hole here in the side of the Weber Smoky Mountain, and that's where you're taking your temp at. You want that temp, the grate temp, because that's where your food's going to be. So I suggest investing in either a Maverick or something to where you can actually take the grate temp of your smoker, because that's going to make a big difference. So anyways, yeah, so shoot for 250, right around 250 on your smoker when you do these ribs. All right, let's get the ribs on. All right, the ribs have been inside the food saver bag now for about an hour and 50 minutes, so we're just about ready to take them out, and I'll let you have a look at them and see how they've progressed in 2 hours. It's definitely penetrated the meat, the rub. It's got a nice kind of shine to it. That means that the moisture is kind of starting to come to the top of the ribs. So the rub has definitely penetrated the meat at this time. So that 2 hours, it definitely made a nice difference. I don't know, it's going to kind of be dark in here because of there's no sunlight, but yeah, that's about all the marinating I personally feel you need. So go ahead, we're going to put another layer on here of the rub, this time just on the top. You don't need to do the bottom again. You can though if you want. Once again, just pat it in real nice. And we'll go ahead and put them on the smoker. And I'm guessing at this point I'm going to go 2 hours and then I'm going to check them because I am going to eventually wrap them. And my guess is it's going to be 2.5 hours before I want to wrap them in foil. So, and I'm going by look and feel kind of as opposed to time. That's why I'm going to check them at 2 hours and then see where they're at. I'm guessing it's going to take 2.5, but we're gonna check them at 2 just to make sure. So we'll be back later. All right, y'all. It's been 2 hours on the spares. Let's open up the cooker, check them out, see how far along they are. It's getting a nice color to them. Check this back. Yeah, they're not quite where I want them to be yet to wrap them. I want to see a little bit more pullback on those bones before I wrap them. So they're not quite ready yet. Let's do another 30 minutes. I bet by then they'll be ready to go. All right, we'll check back in 30. Okay, 45 minutes in. I decided to just go another 45, so we were at 2 hours and 45 minutes. Let's check these out, see what they look like. That's why I was saying earlier, you never really know. Yeah, that's probably about right there. That's why I like to go by feel and how they look. I think these look like they're about ready to go inside the foil. See, the neighbor's dog agrees too. Put those right there. Apologize for the wind. Apologize for the dog. Actually, the dog should apologize for the dog. We're going to use just some regular old apple juice. Nothing real fancy, although you can use fancy apple juice if you want. I don't know if you can see, you're just getting a little bit of pullback there, not too much. You don't want a whole heck of a lot of pullback yet. Just a tiny bit works, because you're going to get a lot of pullback when you wrap these. So right now you're going to be tenderizing these and adding a little flavor with the apple juice. That's the plan. Make sure you don't have any leaks. Sometimes you'll get a little bone that breaks the foil. You don't want that. All right, we're gonna throw these back in there. I'm gonna guess 45 minutes in the foil. So we've gone for 2 hours and 45 minutes. We're gonna do 45 minutes in the foil and see where we're at. We shall return. All right, 45 minutes in the foil. Let's take the ribs off here and give them a little look. I have a feeling though that they will be exactly where I want them. So right now we're at 3.5 hours. Let's take a look. Yeah, that'll work right there. See, you got a nice pullback on the bone here. This one over here is almost completely pulled off, but that for me is probably good. You can also do the bend test. Pick them up like this. You get a nice bend on them. Let's see if you pick them up this way. Got that bend. Yeah. These are probably good. Also, one thing you got to remember is they're going to cook for another 30 minutes. You got to put sauce on them. So don't forget about your sauce. Because if they're completely done right now and you cook them for another 30 minutes, they're going to be overcooked. You don't want to do that. I'm also going to give you guys one of my little secrets here. I do make my own sauces, but when I don't feel like making my own sauce, I use Big Bob Gibson's Championship Red Sauce. It's good stuff, y'all. Works great. Best bottled sauce I've ever had. So you're gonna sauce both sides of these, of course. 15 minutes on one side, then you're gonna flip it, sauce it again, and cook it for another 15 minutes. So that's gonna be your extra 30 minutes after they come out of the foil. Put those back on, 15 minutes. We'll come back and flip them and sauce them again. Alright, now that we let them sit with the sauce on there for 15 minutes, let's flip them and repeat the process. Flip those over. Get a nice coating on that side. That's the important side. Alright, go for another 15 minutes and then we'll take them inside. Okay, total of 4 hours cooking time. Ribs are done. We're going to give them another layer of sauce now that they just came off the smoker. Remember, you haven't had the ribs on very long with sauce on them, but you don't want to keep them on the smoker too long because the sauce will make them burn. So we're going to sauce them one more time right now. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to rest foil over the top of them for 15 minutes. This kind of helps the meat kind of come back together again. And also another thing, if you don't let them rest, sometimes when you cut them, they'll kind of shred on the corners and then you don't get pretty looking ribs. So we're going to let them rest for 15 minutes and then we'll cut them up. Okay, ribs have rested for 15 minutes. Take off the foil. What are we going to do now? Take a wild guess. That's right, we're going to sauce them one more time. The final time on the top. So that's 3 times on the top, 1 time on the bottom. Like I said, the sauce doesn't stay on the ribs for very long when the ribs are cooking, so you really want to get a nice layer on there. Well, you can only do it once if you want, or twice, or you can not sauce them at all, really. Another thing I do, another little secret, when I cut my ribs, I flip them over like this. That way you can see in between the bones and it's easier to cut. That's the way I do it. Another little thing I'm going to say is these are not going to be fall off the bone ribs. I personally don't like to cook fall off the bone ribs because if they fall off the bone, that probably means they're overcooked. In my personal opinion. And I think that's a lot of people's opinions. But then a lot of people like them to completely fall off the bone too. It just depends on how you like your ribs. These are going to be more, they're going to have a little tug to them, at least I hope anyways. Take one right here. Check it out, we do got the smoke ring going there. And you want a smoke ring, you don't want the whole thing to be pink. Because that means that you over smoked them. Check out the texture on them. Nice and juicy. Let's give them a try here, y'all. Let's check them out. Can you see me? I put this up too high. See? For me, that's the way I like them. It came clean off the bone where I bit into it, but it didn't all fall off the bone. And it's got a little bit, you kind of got to bite down and pull it away a little bit. Little piece right there. But see, that's the way I like them. Like I said, they're nice and juicy. They're all going to be like that all the way through. These ones on the end. Another nice smoke ring right there. Check out the texture. So yeah, that's it. Big Jake's ribs, the way I do them right now. If you got any questions, leave a comment, shoot me a PM. And thanks for watching. Peace.